A dive into mystery. The ocean stretched endlessly beneath Cora Bennett's diving boat, its surface calm but hiding secrets older than memory itself. She adjusted her oxygen tank and checked her equipment one last time. This was her 17th dive near the Forgotten Trench, a place local fishermen avoided, whispering stories of strange lights and eerie sounds rising from below. Cora didn't believe in ghost stories, but she believed in discovery. Her partner, Devon Walsh, gave her a thumbs up from the boat deck. He was the cautious one, always triple-checking their safety protocols. Cora was the adventurer, the one who pushed boundaries. Together, they made a perfect team for their marine research project. Today, they were investigating unusual sonar readings that suggested something large and living occupied the deepest part of the trench. The water embraced Cora as she descended, the blue-green world growing darker with each meter. Sunlight filtered through in golden streams at first, then faded to twilight, then to something close to night. Her headlamp cut through the darkness, revealing schools of silver fish that scattered at her approach. The depth gauge on her wrist showed she was entering dangerous territory, far below where recreational divers ever ventured. At 200 meters down, Cora saw it. A cave opening, massive and foreboding, carved into the underwater cliff face. The sonar readings had originated from somewhere inside. Her heart pounded with excitement and fear in equal measure. She knew she should surface, report her findings, return with proper equipment. But something drew her forward, a feeling she couldn't explain, like the ocean itself was calling to her. The cave swallowed her whole. Inside, the walls glowed with bioluminescent algae, painting everything in shades of electric blue and green. The tunnel twisted deeper and Cora followed, her breathing steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Then she heard it, a sound that shouldn't exist underwater. A cry, high-pitched and desperate, almost like a child calling for help. She swam faster, pushing through narrow passages until the tunnel opened into a vast underwater chamber. And there, trapped beneath a collapsed stone pillar and tangled in ancient metal chains, was something impossible. A creature no larger than a large dog covered in shimmering scales that shifted between emerald and sapphire. Its body was serpentine, but with 4 legs, each ending in delicate claws. 2 wings, translucent like dragonfly wings but edged in silver, were pinned awkwardly against its sides. Cora's mind struggled to process what she was seeing. The creature's head turned toward her, and their eyes met. Its eyes were enormous, golden with vertical pupils that contracted in her headlamp's beam. Intelligence shone in those eyes, not animal cunning but something deeper, something aware. The creature's mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of tiny, crystalline teeth, and it made that crying sound again, bubbles streaming upward. Without thinking, Cora swam closer. The creature didn't thrash or try to bite. Instead, it seemed to understand she was there to help. Its chest heaved with labored breathing, drawing water through gill-like slits on its neck. How long had it been trapped here? Days? Weeks? The chains looked ancient, covered in rust and coral growth, suggesting this prison had existed for a very long time. Cora examined the situation carefully. The pillar pinned the creature's back legs and tail. The chains, thick and heavy, wrapped around its body multiple times. She pulled her diving knife from its sheath and began sawing at the chains. The metal was old but still strong, fighting her every cut. The creature watched her work, its golden eyes never leaving her face, as if memorizing every feature. 20 minutes passed. 30. Cora's air supply was running low, but she couldn't stop now. Finally, one chain snapped, then another. The creature's breathing seemed easier. She wedged her knife under the pillar and used a rock for leverage, pushing with all her strength. The stone shifted slightly. The creature pulled its leg free with a small cry of relief. 2 more chains to go. Cora's air gauge flashed red. She had maybe 10 minutes of breathing time left, not nearly enough to reach the surface safely if she stayed much longer. But she was so close. The creature seemed to sense her urgency. It twisted its body, helping her reach the last chains. They worked together, woman and beast in perfect silent cooperation. The final chain broke. The creature was free. It floated in the water for a moment, testing its wings, stretching its legs. Then it did something Cora would never forget. It pressed its scaled forehead against her diving mask, gentle as a kiss, and a warm sensation flooded through her body. Not heat exactly, but something like recognition, like being seen and accepted in the deepest possible way. The creature pulled back and swam in a circle around her, its movements becoming stronger and more graceful with each passing second. It gestured with its head toward the tunnel exit, then back to Cora, clearly trying to communicate. Her air gauge beeped urgently. She had to go now, or risk not making it back. But as she turned to leave, the creature blocked her path. It grabbed the sleeve of her wetsuit with surprising gentleness and pulled her downward, toward a deeper section of the chamber Cora hadn't noticed before. There, embedded in the rock wall, something glowed with soft purple light, a crystal large as her fist, pulsing like a heartbeat. The creature released her sleeve and swam to the crystal, touching it with one claw. The light intensified, and suddenly the water around them began to shimmer. Images appeared in the shimmer, like watching a movie projected onto mist. Cora saw flashes of the past, great cities beneath the waves, beings like the creature flying through underwater canyons, and humans, ancient humans, living alongside them in harmony. Then darkness, fire from above, chains falling from the sky, and the creatures being hunted, captured, imprisoned. The vision faded. The creature looked at Cora with such sadness that her heart ached. It touched the crystal again, and this time a different image appeared. The surface world burning, ships falling from the sky, and then a counter-image. The same world but thriving, green and alive, with the creatures flying free alongside humans who protected them. Cora understood. This wasn't just a rescue. This was a choice, a warning and an invitation. Her air gauge screamed at her now. She had 3 minutes, maybe 4 if she ascended slowly and carefully. The creature touched her hand one final time, its scales warm against her glove, and nodded toward the exit. As Cora swam toward the surface, the creature followed, staying close but never impeding her ascent. They rose together through the dark water, through the twilight zone, into the golden streams of sunlight. When they broke the surface near her boat, Devon's shocked face appeared over the railing. The creature surfaced beside Cora, water streaming off its scales, its wings spreading wide in the sunlight for the first time in what must have been years. It was beautiful, magnificent, and utterly impossible. Devon fumbled for his camera, but the creature dove beneath the waves before he could capture an image. It surfaced once more, far from the boat, and looked back at Cora with those golden eyes. Then it spread its wings and leaped from the water, not diving but flying, its wings catching air and sunlight as it soared upward. Cora watched, tears mixing, with seawater on her face as the creature flew in a wide circle above them before heading toward the open ocean, toward freedom. Devon helped her onto the boat, his hands shaking, his voice full of questions she couldn't yet answer. But Cora knew one thing with absolute certainty. This was only the beginning. The creature had shown her something important, something that would change everything. And somehow, deep in her heart, she knew they would meet again. Ripples of change 3 days passed since the rescue, but Cora couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those golden eyes, felt that warm recognition, remembered the visions in the underwater chamber. She tried to explain it to Devon, but words felt inadequate. How do you describe touching something from myth? How do you convince someone that dragons, real dragons, lived in Earth's oceans? Devon believed her because he'd seen the creature fly. But he was practical, worried about authorities, about being labeled crazy, about military intervention if word got out. He wanted to keep their discovery secret. Cora understood his caution, but something inside her insisted this knowledge wasn't meant to be hidden. The visions had shown her a choice, and silence felt like choosing the burning world. They were in their research lab, a converted warehouse near the docks, when it happened. The lights flickered. All their electronic equipment went haywire, screens filling with static, speakers emitting a strange harmonious frequency. Then impossibly, water began seeping up through the floor drains, but this water glowed with that same purple light from the crystal in the underwater chamber. The water formed a pool in the center of the room, and from that pool rose 3 figures. Not the creature Cora had saved, but others like it. Larger, older, their scales displaying colors she'd never seen before. One was deep crimson with edges of gold, another was pure white with traces of blue lightning patterns, and the third was midnight black with stars seeming to sparkle within its scales. Devon stumbled backward, knocking over a table of instruments. Cora stood frozen, heart racing, but not from fear, from awe. The crimson dragon stepped forward, or rather floated forward, hovering a foot above the glowing water. When it spoke, the voice resonated in Cora's mind rather than her ears, a sensation both strange and oddly natural. "Cora Bennett," the voice said, "you freed Ember from chains that should never have been forged. For this we are grateful, but your kindness has awakened something long dormant, and now choices must be made that will affect both our kinds." Cora found her voice.
"Who are you?"
"What are you?" The white dragon spoke next, its mental voice like wind chimes. "We are the Lunari, oldest children of ocean and sky. Humans called us dragons in their ancient stories, but we are more than myth. We are guardians, and we have hidden in deep places for 3,000 years, waiting for a time when humans might be ready to remember us." The black dragon, the largest of the 3, added its voice, deep and resonant like a cello. "We hid because humans hunted us when fear ruled their hearts. We bound ourselves with sacred chains, choosing imprisonment over extinction, hoping future generations might prove wiser. Ember was the youngest of us, trapped in slumber until your wars poisoned the oceans and woke her too soon." Devon finally spoke, his voice shaking. "This is impossible. Dragons don't exist. This has to be some kind of hallucination." The crimson dragon's eyes fixed on him with something like amusement. "Your instruments detect our presence. The water we brought is real. Your disbelief does not unmake us human, Devon, but we understand your doubt. Your species has forgotten so much." Cora stepped closer to the pool of glowing water. "The visions Ember showed me, the burning world, was that a warning?" "A possible future," the white dragon replied. "Your world stands at a threshold. The oceans die from your poisons. The air grows thick with your machine's breath. The balance breaks, but it need not be permanent. We can help as we did in ages past, but help requires trust, and trust requires revelation. We cannot hide any longer." The black dragon's stars seemed to pulse brighter. "Ember chose you, Cora. In our tradition, this creates a bond, a partnership. She saw something in your heart that called to her, something pure and brave. Other humans will not be so easily convinced. When they learn we exist, many will fear us. Some will want to capture us, study us, weaponize us. Others will worship us as gods, which is equally dangerous. We need advocates, humans who understand we are neither monsters nor deities, but allies." Cora's mind raced. "You want me to reveal your existence to the world? To tell everyone that dragons are real?" "Not tell," the crimson dragon corrected. "Show. We will reveal ourselves, but the manner of revelation matters. A violent discovery would breed panic. A gradual awakening guided by those who have touched us, who understand us. This offers hope for peaceful coexistence." Devon moved to stand beside Cora, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "How many of you are there? Where have you been hiding?" 47 remain, the white dragon said, and Cora heard sadness in its voice. "Once we numbered in thousands. We sleep in the deepest trenches, in caves beneath volcanic vents, in places your submarines cannot reach. But we are waking now, whether we wish it or not. The ocean's pain wakes us. We feel every poisoned current, every dying reef, every species pushed to extinction. We cannot sleep through Earth's death cry." The black dragon lowered its massive head to Cora's eye level. "Will you stand with us, Cora Bennett? Will you help your kind understand that they are not alone on this world, that other intelligences have always shared this planet, and that cooperation offers survival where conflict promises only ruin?" Cora thought about her whole life. She'd become a marine biologist because she loved the ocean, because she wanted to protect it. She'd always felt like one person couldn't make a difference against the massive problems facing the seas. But this was a chance to change everything. It was terrifying and overwhelming and absolutely insane. "Yes," she said, "I'll help you. But I don't know how. I'm just one person. Who would even listen to me?" The crimson dragon's expression, if a dragon could be said to have expressions, seemed pleased. "Ember will be your proof. She has bonded with you and will come when you call her. Others will see and believe. But first you must undergo the calling. You must be marked as a speaker for both worlds. Marked? Devon asked nervously.
What does that mean?
The white dragon gestured with one elegant claw toward the glowing pool. Enter the water, Cora. It will not harm you. It will change you, enhance you, allow you to breathe beneath waves and speak with your mind as we do. You will become a bridge between species. Cora looked at Devon. He grabbed her hand. Cora, think about this. Once you do this, there's no going back. Your life will never be normal again. She squeezed his hand. My life stopped being normal the moment I dove into that trench. And honestly, Devon, when was the last time normal felt like enough? She released his hand and approached the pool. The water called to her, singing in frequencies she could feel in her bones. She stepped in. The sensation was indescribable. The glowing water rose around her like sentient silk, warm and alive. It covered her completely and she couldn't breathe, but she didn't panic. The water entered her lungs, but instead of drowning, she felt energy flooding through her body. Her skin tingled. Her vision sharpened until she could see individual dust particles floating through the air. Her hearing expanded, catching sounds she'd never noticed before. The hum of electricity in the walls, Devon's racing heartbeat, the distant crash of waves against the shore. The water receded, flowing back through the drains, leaving Cora standing in the center of the room, completely dry but fundamentally changed. She looked at her hands and saw faint scale patterns shimmering just beneath her skin, there one moment and gone the next. When she breathed, she felt both her lungs and something new, gills that could open along her ribs if she needed them. It is done, the black dragon said. You are lunari touched now, the first human in 3 millennia to bear our gift willingly. Ember will know you by this mark. She will come when you need her. Devon stared at her, eyes wide. Cora, your eyes. They're glowing. Cora saw her reflection in a darkened computer screen. Her brown eyes now had flecks of gold swimming through them, just like embers. She touched her throat and knew instinctively she could speak with her mind if she focused. The dragons had given her a piece of themselves, trusted her with their essence. What happens now? She asked. The crimson dragon began to fade, its form becoming translucent. Now you prepare. In 3 days we will emerge in harbors across your world. The great revealing begins. Some of us will be met with wonder. Others will face weapons. This is why you are needed. Go to the places of power in your society. Speak to those who make decisions. Warn them that we come in peace, that we offer partnership. Give them a chance to choose wisdom over fear. The white dragon added, and remember, Cora Bennett, you are not alone in this. There are others, humans throughout history who helped us, whose bloodlines carry traces of our gift. They will feel the awakening and come to you. Build your alliance. Prepare the way. The 3 dragons dissolved into mist, flowing back through the drains, leaving Cora and Devon alone in the lab. The room looked normal again, as if nothing impossible had just occurred. Except Cora could still feel the change humming through her cells, could still sense the ocean calling to her in a language she now understood. Devon sat down heavily in a chair. 3 days. They're giving us 3 days to somehow convince world leaders that friendly dragons are about to pop up everywhere, and please don't shoot them. Cora laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. When you put it that way, it sounds completely insane. It is completely insane. Devon ran his hands through his hair. But it's also happening. And if we don't try to help, if we just let chaos happen, people and dragons will die unnecessarily. He stood up, his expression shifting from shock to determination. Okay, we need a plan. We need evidence, documentation, a way to make people listen fast. And we need to find these other humans the dragons mentioned, the ones with their bloodline gift. Cora felt a surge of affection for him. This was why they worked so well together. Devon could adapt to anything once he accepted it was real. First, we document everything. Your camera equipment is top-notch. Next time Ember appears, we film her. We need clear, undeniable footage. Then we reach out to environmental organizations, scientific communities, anyone who might be sympathetic to the dragon's message about the oceans. And if they don't believe us? Devon asked. Cora smiled, and she knew her gold-flecked eyes were glowing. Then I call Ember, and she shows them that myths can be real, that magic exists, that the world is stranger and more wonderful than anyone imagined. The great revealing. The 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Cora and Devon worked without sleep, compiling evidence, making contacts, preparing for something no human had ever prepared for before. Cora called Ember on the second night, focusing her will and speaking with her mind across the miles of ocean. The young dragon came, bursting from the waves in a cascade of water and moonlight, more magnificent than Cora remembered. Devon captured it all on camera. Ember's flight, her scales shifting colors, the intelligence in her eyes. But more than that, he filmed the interaction between woman and dragon. The way Ember nuzzled against Cora like an affectionate cat. The way they seemed to communicate without words. The way Ember carried Cora on her back, flying low over the waves, demonstrating trust that couldn't be faked. The footage was powerful, undeniable. Devon edited it into a short documentary just 12 minutes long, explaining how they'd found Ember, what the Lunari had told them, what was about to happen. They posted it everywhere they could think of, every social media platform, every video site, every forum. Then they waited. The response was immediate and divided. Some called it the greatest hoax ever perpetrated. Others believed instantly, sharing the video millions of times over. Within 24 hours, Cora and Devon were being contacted by news organizations, governments, and thousands of individuals claiming to be the other Lunari-touched humans the dragons had mentioned. Most of those claims were false, wishful thinking, or attention-seeking. But 7 of them were real. Cora could feel it. A resonance in their words, a familiar echo of what she'd experienced. A woman in Japan named Hana Nakamura, a marine archaeologist who'd been dreaming of dragons for months. A man in Brazil named Rafael Torres, a fisherman whose family had stories of helping sea serpents generations ago. 5 others scattered across continents, all feeling the call, all ready to help. They formed a network quickly using encrypted channels Devon set up, sharing information and preparing for the revelation. Each of them reached out to their local authorities, trying to prepare the ground, to prevent panic. Some officials listened. Many did not. The world teetered on the edge of something unprecedented, and humanity had no protocol for first contact with a species they'd thought was fiction. On the morning of the 3rd day, Cora stood on a public beach with Devon, Hana, and Raphael, who had traveled to meet her. News crews from a dozen countries pointed cameras at them. Military helicopters circled overhead. The government had tried to stop this gathering, but Cora had made it clear. The dragons would emerge whether humans were ready or not. Better to have witnesses, better to show the world this was real and peaceful. The sun rose over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Cora felt it before she saw it. A vibration in the water, a pressure change in the air. Ember surfaced first, leaping from the waves with a joyful cry. Then others appeared, dragons of every color rising from the deep. The crimson one, the white one, the black one. Dozens more, their scales gleaming in the dawn light, their wings spreading wide. People on the beach screamed. Some ran, but many stood frozen in wonder. The dragons didn't attack. They hovered over the water, graceful and peaceful, waiting. Cora stepped forward, ankle deep in the surf, and raised her arms in greeting. Ember flew to her, landing gently on the sand, and the young dragon's purr rumbled like distant thunder. Hana spoke then, her voice amplified by the microphones Devon had set up. Humanity, meet the Lunari. They are real. They have always been real. They are not here to harm us. They are here to help us save the oceans, to save ourselves, to show us that we are not alone. Raphael added, My ancestors helped them once long ago. They taught us to fish sustainably, to respect the sea, to understand that we are part of nature, not separate from it. They offer that wisdom again if we will listen. Around the world, similar scenes played out. Dragons emerging in harbors, lakes, rivers. Some encounters went smoothly. Others erupted in violence. Panicked military forces firing on creatures who fled rather than retaliate. Cora watched live feeds on her phone, her heart breaking each time a dragon was injured, each time fear triumphed over wonder. But the tide was turning. For every violent encounter, there were 10 peaceful ones. Videos spread of dragons helping rescue drowning swimmers, of dragons clearing plastic from reef systems, of dragons playing with children who showed no fear. The youngest humans adapted fastest, accepting magic with the ease of those not yet taught to disbelieve in it. The crimson dragon, who introduced itself as Paraxis to Cora's mind, landed on the beach near her. Its mental voice carried a weight of authority. The revealing has begun. Now comes the harder part, convincing your leaders that cooperation serves everyone better than conflict. An official from the Coastal Defense Department approached cautiously, his hand near his sidearm but not drawing it. I'm Commander Jensen. I've been authorized to establish communication protocols. My superiors want to know your intentions. Are you claiming sovereignty over the oceans? Are you expecting humans to cede territory? Paraxis tilted its massive head. We claim nothing. We guard what we have always guarded. The oceans are not property to be divided. They are life itself and they are dying. We offer knowledge to help heal them. In exchange, we ask only to exist without persecution, to swim freely without fear of your harpoons and nets. How do we know you're not a threat? Jensen asked, his voice shaking slightly despite his military bearing. The white dragon, Silverwind, glided down to hover beside Pyraxis. You do not know. Just as we do not know if humans will honor peace. Trust is not knowing. Trust is choosing to believe despite uncertainty. We make that choice now. Will you? Cora spoke up. Commander, they've given me abilities that could be dangerous in the wrong hands. They've shared their secrets, made themselves vulnerable. If they wanted to harm us, they could have stayed hidden, let the oceans die and inherited whatever was left. Instead, they're offering partnership. Jensen looked between the dragons, the growing crowd of civilians, and his own armed forces positioned on the hills above the beach. Cora could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Finally, he lowered his hand from his weapon. I'll recommend diplomatic engagement to my superiors. But there will be conditions, negotiations, safeguards. We expect nothing less, Paraxis said. Wise caution is not the same as fear-driven violence. We can work with caution. The day stretched long as more officials arrived, as hastily organized meetings took place in beachside buildings, as the world adjusted to a truth that rewrote history books. Cora participated in many of these discussions, translating when the dragon's mental communication confused human listeners, advocating for understanding on both sides. By evening, preliminary agreements had been reached. Scientific exchanges would be established. The dragons would help clean polluted waters and restore damaged ecosystems. Humans would create protected zones where dragons could live undisturbed. It was fragile, tentative, but it was a beginning. As night fell, Ember curled up beside Cora on the sand, exhausted from a day of being the center of unprecedented attention. Devon sat on her other side, his camera finally powered down. You know this changes everything, he said softly. Science, religion, politics, everything. The world we knew ended today. Cora stroked Ember's warm scales, feeling the dragon's contentment through their bond. Maybe. Or maybe this is the world revealing what it always was. Maybe we're just finally seeing clearly. She looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Do you think there are more out there? Other species we haven't met yet? Other impossible things waiting to be discovered? Raphael, sitting nearby with his own bonded dragon, a small green creature named Cascade, laughed. I guarantee it. The universe is too big, too strange for dragons to be the only surprise waiting for us. Hana joined them, her dragon, a silver-blue beauty named Mizuki, draping its tail across her lap. The question is, will humanity choose to meet those surprises with wonder or weapons? Today was a test. We didn't fail completely, but we didn't ace it either. Silverwind descended from the sky, landing gracefully near their group. Today was one day. Lasting change takes longer. There will be setbacks, conflicts born of misunderstanding and old prejudices. Some humans will never accept us. Some dragons will struggle to trust after millennia of hiding. But you ate, you lunary touched, you bridge the gap. You prove that different species can understand each other, can care for each other. That is the foundation everything else will build upon. Cora felt the weight of responsibility settling over her shoulders, but it didn't feel crushing. It felt purposeful. She'd spent her whole life looking for meaning, for a way to make a real difference. Now she had it. Then we'll keep building, one day at a time, one person at a time, until cooperation becomes normal instead of exceptional. Ember lifted her head and chirped softly, and Cora understood the meaning perfectly even without words. The young dragon was saying that the future was bright, that the oceans would heal, that humans and Lunari would fly together into better days. It was naive, perhaps, the optimism of a creature too young to understand how complicated peace could be. But looking around at her companions, at the dragons resting peacefully among humans for the first time in 3,000 years, at the news crews packing up their equipment and the curious children being carried home by parents who would tell this story forever, Cora chose to believe Ember was right. The world had changed. Magic was real. Dragons existed. And a diver who'd simply tried to save one drowning creature had helped start a revolution of understanding. If that was possible, then anything was possible. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but full of potential, and Cora Bennett was ready to meet it with open arms and wondering eyes. Devon nudged her shoulder. "So what do we do tomorrow?" Cora smiled, her gold-flecked eyes reflecting starlight. "Tomorrow we teach humans to speak dragon, and we teach dragons to understand humans, and we start healing an ocean that's been dying for too long." She stood up, brushing sand from her clothes, and looked at the assembled group. 4 humans, 4 dragons, 8 bridges between worlds. Tomorrow we prove that today wasn't a fluke. That peace can last. That different doesn't have to mean dangerous. Pyraxis's deep mental voice resonated with approval. "Well spoken, bridge builder. Rest now. Tomorrow's work will require strength." The great crimson dragon took flight, followed by the others, rising into the night sky in a formation that looked like a constellation come to life. Only Ember remained, unwilling to leave Cora's side. The young dragon had started this whole impossible chain of events simply by being trapped, by needing rescue, by choosing to trust the strange human who'd freed her from chains. Sometimes the smallest acts create the biggest changes. A hand extended in kindness, a choice to help instead of harm, a willingness to believe in impossible things. Cora lay back on the sand, Ember's head resting on her chest, and watched the stars wheel overhead. Somewhere out in the deep ocean, dragons swam freely for the first time in centuries. Somewhere in government offices, officials drafted treaties that would have seemed insane just days ago. Somewhere, children dreamed of flying on dragonback, and for the first time in human history, those dreams might actually come true. The world had found its magic again, and it was only just beginning to discover what that magic might mean.